1 2 testing.
That's
Are you there?
it. I am, mate. Yeah,
So you can hear me now.
I can hear you now. Yeah.
That's technical issues we've had both weeks so far in this resumption.
Well, it is. Yeah, I tried to. I just tried to alter where I'm sitting in my room.
Yeah,
Um,
you look now as if you're on the Jonathan Ross show.
I feel like I'm on the sofa. Oh, hang on.
What's happened?
Oh, my microphone stand's gone crazy.
This used to happen when we were gigging together.
It did used to happen a lot then, didn't it?
Have you still got that polystyrene head that you used to use?
No,
Mm.
I haven't. Oh, I don't know how I'm going to do this.
Well, don't worry. We can edit this out. Apart from in the video version, I'll probably leave that in.
Yeah, you can leave it quite a lot in then. That seems to have broken. Okay.
Are you are you are you set now?
I think I'll do it like that. Can you hear? Is the quality all right? Can you hear me? Okay.
Well, I can hear you okay, and so I can only assume that you will be picked up technically
Yeah.
well enough.
Oh,
Are you holding the mic now? Then, like
no.
a sort of sports reporter.
Well, I was gonna, but I've managed to wedge it in. I'll have to make sure I sort that out properly for next time. But I think I'm in position now. I think I'm all right.
Yeah, because if you're going to have to hold the microphone, you really need to be wearing a sheepskin coat.
What, like it's a la John Motson?
Exactly, exactly. Oh, that's
Yeah.
that's. I brought up football early doors there.
You did, yeah, yeah, which is normally my domain.
Hmm. So, apart from the technical issues, how are you?
I'm all right actually. Yeah, not too
Good.
bad.
Hmm.
Not too bad. It's yeah. Are we allowed to speak about the weather because we normally do?
That's
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, in fact, I'm feeling quite smug about the weather because I thought I was going to get heavily rained on this morning, and I managed to get out and back with the dogs before it started.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. Good work, mate.
have you been
Good
to the
work.
farmers market?
No,
Oh,
that wasn't. That's not. That's. It's on the. This is the first Sunday of the month, mate. It's on the third.
oh, it's they have the farmers market at Bearsted on the first Sunday of the month.
Oh, do they? Yeah, I think you did mention that before to get yourself up there, really, didn't I? At some
You
point.
should really. You could do a little tour of the various farmers markets. You could go to one every Sunday, couldn't you?
Yeah, I could do a review on them, couldn't I?
Yeah,
We
you'd
put
have
that
a. We could add that to the episode.
as an additional feature. I'm sure it'd be most interesting.
Yeah. You would the only kind of downside of that is you would have a plethora of apples and pears, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to eat them enough in time. They'd be going off.
And knowing what you're like at striking up relationships with the vendors,
Yeah.
you'd be guilt tripped into buying too much coffee and seaweed pate.
Well, exactly, and I don't want that. You know, we've got to tighten our belts in the current economic environment.
Yeah, we're sailing the ship through some fiscal turbulence, aren't we? Actually, can you sail through turbulence? You can't really, can you? You have to fly through it.
Yeah, yeah. I suppose if you, yeah,
Can you have turbulent seas? I suppose you can.
you can, yeah, yeah. I'd
Hmm.
have said so. I'll let that one drop anyway, mate. That's all right.
Anyway, what were you going to say about the weather?
It's a bit rainy.
It's that sort of insight that people come here for.
I know, yeah, yeah.
Anyway,
Should we crack on? You probably need to edit a lot of this rubbish out, mate. Anyway.
I probably won't know. I was
Okay.
just gonna tell you because I know I sent you a message yesterday about Tom, my son, going to Oktoberfest.
Oh yes, yeah, of course.
He's a bit of a mess this morning.
Is it? Yeah. I mean, you're going there just to drink beer, aren't you? Basically,
Hmm.
it's like any
I was
sort.
I was thinking about it. You know, back in the day when in our drinking days, we probably would have enjoyed an event like that, wouldn't we?
I would have loved it. Yeah, I'd have been properly indulged. I'd have been feeling a bit messy today, so I'd have had to have cracked on with a few more just to sort of ease me through the day.
Well, I thought about you because I don't know. You probably wouldn't know the structure of the event up there, but there are 2 sittings, so you can buy a ticket for the day or you can buy a ticket for the evening.
Oh, okay.
I imagined you would have been pushing for a season ticket, wouldn't you?
I'd have been the first one in the queue, mate. The last one kicked out the door.
Yeah. Anyway,
Anyway, yes, I'll tell you what I wanted to talk about today. It was sort of sparked by a link you sent me, but it's whether, and it does come up in groups quite a lot, and it's whether us addicts can expect other people to understand their condition. You know,
this is
are
the
we?
this is the Peter Hitchens video.
It is, and I'll come on to that in a minute. But it's a topic we often discuss in groups because often people have partners that don't understand, or parents that don't understand, or whatever, significant others that have trouble coming to terms with having an addict in the family. I know they always call it a family disease because it affects everyone, but the person at the centre of it, we always discuss about how it's other people don't understand what we're going through. Um, and it's a discussion that never really gets resolved. So I was hoping just to throw a little bit of light on that today, perhaps. Um, so I don't know. I mean, do you think that perhaps obviously it's difficult from your point of view, but me as an addict, am I expecting too much for other people to understand how I'm feeling or what I'm going through?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think it's part of living in a kind of mature and progressive society, isn't it? Being able to see things from other people's perspectives. I think it's I suppose it depends what your expectation is.
Yeah,
Maybe you personally and also individually, the people that talk about it in group. If because I suppose at one end of the spectrum, your expectation can be that someone will understand it and empathize to the exact degree that you'd like them to, and treat you in exactly the way that you'd like to be treated. And maybe that is unrealistic because, if we don't have personal experience of something, sometimes it can be difficult to really appreciate it in the right way. But if what you're striving for in terms of being understood is that someone will be open-minded enough to listen to what you have to say about it and learn from your experience and accept what you tell them about your experience of it, then no, I don't think that is. I don't think that is beyond what's reasonable. I mean, it's obviously made more complex depending on the relationship you have with the person that you're talking about, isn't it?
it does, and I want to come back to that. I want to come back onto that, but just before we start, um, just a quick fess up, really, because last week you asked me what episode it was, and I said it was episode 7 in this current series, but I hadn't taken into account that little extra one we did.
Yeah, I
You
know.
were you were counting that. I'd put it on my spreadsheet. I put it under extras from Maria, but now I've put it back across into where it is. So that was episode 8 last week.
Yeah, you see,
Um,
I've actually, I think you'll agree, I've been quite good at keeping the numbering convention up recently, haven't I?
no, you constantly ask me if we've covered stuff as well.
Ah, well, I'm asking you if we've covered stuff, but I think you used to get quite angry with me when I would um, erroneously number the episodes.
I didn't get angry. I was just concerned that you perhaps went on top of your admin.
I've been better though, haven't I, recently?
You have been better. That's why I was. I didn't want to. I don't want to make too much of an issue of it, mate. You know.
As we're doing confessions, though, I'll confess to
Okay.
you why I'm better at it, and that's
Okay.
because where we host this podcast, they've introduced a feature in the last sort of few months where they tell you what which the last numbered episode you
Ah.
uploaded was.
Oh,
So
okay.
all I have to do now, as long as you can count, you can usually get it right.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's made things considerably easier for you.
So I didn't want you to think that it was me being more effective at something because it
Oh,
isn't.
oh, okay. Well, that is a good confession. You know,
Yeah.
I'd given you credit for something you absolutely don't deserve. But I just wanted to move on. I did have a look very briefly at our recording on YouTube because we put it onto YouTube for the first time last week, didn't we?
We did in standard definition.
And standard, and yeah, I'm not good at looking at myself really particularly, but I did have a look at it. And what came out? It's you were talking about being hit in the nuts by a cricket ball at one point, and you said the word cricketer in an Australian accent, and I wasn't sure if you
Did
were
I?
aware of it. You said like cricketer like
Did
that.
I?
Yeah, yeah. You have to go back and listen to it.
Oh, we'll
'Cause-
have to go back and listen to that. Maybe I was trying. Well, no, that wouldn't make sense, would it? If you were Australian, it would make sense that I was trying to fit in with you because that is I think the psychological reason for people adopting foreign accents when they're not actually foreign.
Okay.
Well, obviously that, everyone's foreign to somebody. But, going back to the infamous Joey, what's his face? What's his
Joey
name?
Barton.
Joey Barton one and the Steve McLaren one,
Yeah.
where they're speaking in uh, a faux French accent and a Dutch accent.
Yeah.
But if I did that, then there's not really any explanation for me suddenly going Australian, is there?
It wasn't, no, it just struck me. You might not see it, perhaps if you have a listen back, um,
Well, what I'll do is I'll run it past my daughter because she always tells me if I'm doing something like that. As we've discussed before, she always gets on my case if she feels as if I put the inflection on the wrong part of a phrase or a word.
okay, that must make it quite tricky. You must be on your guard all the time when you're
Well,
talking
I don't.
to
I'm
her.
not bothered about it. She just picks me up on it, and then I say, "Oh, okay." It's like
Okay,
I think corner shop and corner shop was the one, and I still can't think what the right way of saying it is.
individual preference, mate, isn't it?
Well, don't say that to Beth because she'll be like a rat up a drain pipe.
Apoplectic with rage.
Exactly.
I'll make sure I don't mention it the next time I see her.
Yeah.
Anyway, should we get back to the subject matter
Yeah,
before we
let's
drift
do
too
that. Let's do
far
that.
off?
Yeah. Yeah.
I wanted to go back to that video, that link you sent me,
Yep.
where it was a sort of a panel show, but there was Matthew Perry, who plays
Yeah.
Chandler Bing, as you know, in Friends, and he was having this discussion with Peter Hitchens. Now, Peter Hitchens, I mean, I've disliked him for a long time anyway for many of his views. He's always had a sort of a very punchable face. Don't know if I can say that, but he just seems to be a thoroughly unpleasant piece of work. And I've always seen him, perhaps unfairly, I don't know, but as a tin pot journalist from the Mail on Sunday. But him having a nasty pop at Matthew Perry really sort of pissed me off. It was sort of I feel sort of I don't know. I've always felt strangely protective of Matthew Perry, as I do all my fellow actors.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I
Um,
think that's part of he's part of the group, isn't he?
he is part of the group, and we dedicated a whole episode to him back in season 1, episode 6. It's all about Chandler Bing and
It's quite
the
popular that
struggles that he
episode.
had. Sorry.
It's quite popular that episode. I've often wondered whether it's popular because people think that we might have him on, and
Well,
they
perhaps
listen all the way to the end and are bitterly disappointed.
yeah, yeah. Well, yes, yeah. We use perhaps that was unintentional clickbait we use there, but
Yeah.
perhaps we'll try and get him on. I'll send him a message, see if he's all right to
Yeah.
come on
Good luck
have a
with that.
chat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah. So it was because I've al- I came away thinking about it because although you sent me that link, I had seen it a long time ago, and it sort of when I looked at it again, I got angry again a little bit about it. But I came away thinking that all the medical professions all around the world have seen it as a disease sort of since the 40s and 50s, and yet Hitchens thinks that he's right, and that it's a choice, and that addiction isn't real, which is what he was alluding to, which it did upset me. But then I think it's pretty. It led me on to this thinking, well, it's pretty tricky, isn't it? Really, expecting other people to understand our condition, which is why I'll put the notes together for this episode.
Yeah. It
Um,
is. Yes, but I think don't you think there's a difference though between um kind of acknowledging your own ignorance over a subject and being open to learning about it.
yeah,
And speaking of from a position of ignorance, I mean, as far as I'm aware, he certainly didn't reveal it in that interview, which I think was probably Newsnight. Um, he didn't say that he had any personal knowledge. That he hadn't known anyone that was an addict,
no,
or he'd not done any. He didn't seem to have done any research into it. He seemed to be speaking from a position of, well, this is what I think, and I don't care about any of the evidence. And that is what I think. I think we all can expect more than that from our fellow humans, can't we?
I'd like to think so. I don't think so, but again, I was thinking perhaps he's just being provocative on purpose because that's his job as a journalist, perhaps to promote dialogue. But it seemed like he was pretty set in his ways and the way he thought about it. He's calling for much tougher jail sentences for people caught in possession because that'll teach them. Even though
But
the war on drugs has gained no traction for 50 years using exactly that method. He thinks still thinks it's the right thing to do. Just make the jail terms perhaps a bit longer, a bit tougher, and they won't go and won't get involved.
That's what I mean. It's like it's confirmation bias, isn't it? It's like
Yeah.
this is the opinion that I have, and so I'm going to keep peddling it regardless of any contrary evidence. As you say, all the research and the data shows that criminalising drug offences or alcoholism or whatever doesn't have any effect whatsoever.
No, it doesn't. And we did a whole episode on the Portuguese method, which has been running for 20 odd years now and has made significant impact onto that. But again, I was thinking that people who haven't suffered from it, haven't suffered from the condition of addiction, they get if they get fed a narrative by someone like Hitchens, it backs them up, doesn't it? And then, but then I can, we do behave irrationally as addicts. Can we expect them to understand it? Sometimes we don't even understand it ourselves. So is it our job, or is it at this point? Is it down to education about the condition? Is that where things are falling down,
Well, I think
or would someone like Hitchens not acknowledge it anyway, regardless? He's made his mind up, and that's it.
yeah, I think someone like Hitchens probably is impossible to turn because and some people sometimes are like that. They hold they hold the position they hold, and they're not really interested in considering alternatives. But I think this comes back to what we were saying at the start about what your expectation is of understanding. So, for example, if you're an active alcoholic and you're in a relationship with someone, if your expectation is that understanding from your partner really means tolerance and acceptance, that might be too tough
Yeah,
because, I mean, I've never lived with an active alcoholic, but I can imagine it's hell. So I think it's one thing for someone close to an active addict to be kind of intellectually acknowledging the problem and that it's not the choice of the person who is addicted.
yeah.
But for them to say, because of that, I'm kind of very tolerant of it and I'm very patient with it, I think that's probably a bit too much. Because I think, and I don't know what conversations take place in group, but I imagine that you probably have some people who are frustrated with the intolerance of their partners.
I think, yeah, and what often comes up is that because there are groups for people who are partners or significant others of addicts. Al Anon, for example. I know we've spoken about Al Anon in the past. I went along to one of their meetings, so I've got a bit of knowledge about them, and they do a very good job. Um, but we get the situation where people say, a partner, for example, will say, "Well, that's your problem, not mine. I'm not going to the support group." And that has come up a lot in the past. So they're not prepared to put themselves out to try and understand it, because it's you get your problem sorted out and everything will be fine. But again, are we
Mm.
expecting too much of our partners to hope they would look into it?
Well, I don't think hoping that they would look into it is expecting too much, but expecting them to might be too much. Because if a partner says it's your issue, you've got to get that resolved. I'm not going to a support group to learn about the condition that you have.
Yeah,
I don't think. I don't know. What do I think about that? I'm not sure you can be too critical of that because actually, fundamentally, what they're saying is the truth.
yeah,
Now, it might be that you as a couple decide, well, actually, I am an active addict. My partner doesn't seem to want to understand my condition or learn about it or do anything that might support me. Maybe this isn't the right relationship for us to be in.
okay,
I think that's reasonable. I think that's the reason I asked the question about I wonder if people in group get kind of frustrated when their partners won't learn more about it. Is because I think there has to be an acceptance that both those people in that relationship, whether it be partners or mother and son or father and daughter, whatever, they're both individuals. And you can't, because you've got a difficulty with drugs or alcohol. If you expect that the people around you are going to do everything they possibly can to kind of understand it, that might be a bit too much.
yeah,
I think we're all individuals and we'll deal with the situations the way that we see fit. And I think there probably there's a line to be drawn there, isn't there, between you taking responsibility for where you are and almost wanting to take responsibility for the things that other people do that might help you. One would hope that in a relationship, the person that you're thinking about loves you enough to want to find out about this condition, right?
It is. I mean, having been to Al-Anon, I wasn't aware of what they offered, and I'm in the middle of the recovery community, and so there was a lack probably of understanding on my behalf, and probably a lot of other people as to what they offer. I mean, what they offer there is almost like a group therapy for those people, and it's
Mm.
all and they do offer a 12-step program as well, very similar to the one that the fellowships follow, like Alcoholics Anonymous. So I think they can get alongside it. I know the people that I've spoken to that have gone find it really encouraging, and they find it interesting, but they find they get a lot from themselves and they grow themselves as a person. So I think perhaps it is a lack of really us promoting that message, perhaps. And we do
Yeah.
try and bang on it and say, look, try and get your partner to go to Al-Anon, but no one knows what it's really about, and that's the tough one.
Well, I think there's also, yeah, I think that that kind of opens up another area of debate, which is that if you encourage a partner or a relative or a close friend or whatever to learn more, not only learn more about the condition, but also to, because part of what Al-Anon's doing is they're giving support to people who are struggling with a
Yeah,
relative or loved one who's an addict, right? I think there also has to be an acceptance that in that growth that they do in Al-Anon or in therapy or whatever it might be, they might decide for themselves they don't want to be around you anymore.
yeah, quite,
So
yeah,
I think if, again, coming back to this kind of expectation, if part of the expectation is my loved one will learn about this condition and therefore we will get closer and our relationship will be better and things will be easier, that's quite an assumption.
yeah, yeah.
So I think it's one thing to hope that someone will learn more about the condition, but you don't know where that's going to go.
No, you don't. I mean, if someone goes along to Al-Anon and grows as a person, and someone goes into recovery and grows as a person, there could be two different people in that relationship, which then find they're not compatible anyway.
Precisely.
Mm. But when I was googling this about, how do we deal with this, I come across it was a recovery clinic in San Diego, but it was called the Genesis Recovery Clinic, which you sent me a message regarding the sale of Genesis, the music groups, their back catalogue for an enormous amount of money. And I think I was quite disparaging about them.
Well, let's say you were so disparaging, I wouldn't even be able to read the message that you sent me.
They're not one of my favourite musical groups. Let's put it that
No,
way.
that came
Did
through
it?
clearly.
Did it? Well, they're a better recovery clinic than they are a musical group. So what they were saying in there, it is about trying to put across to the other significant other, to the other person, about the condition, give them sort of a few bullet points as to how it works, and what they were saying that explain that it's medically defined as a chronic disease, and it's due to a combination or a complex combination of biological, environmental, and social causes. Quite a tough one to put across, but it is that thing about it being trying to get someone else to see it as a disease, and they liken it to which we often do in groups, is liken it to diabetes. The treatment of that particular condition requires a daily routine, if you like, and it needs to be maintained, and you need to learn to have healthier behaviours, and it needs a strong support system around you as well. So likening it to something like diabetes helps people perhaps to understand, because a diabetic didn't choose to have that condition, and addicts don't choose to be addicts. It's
No, I think where that becomes difficult though for people is that again, you can kind of logically see the rationale in the comparison.
yeah.
But if you live with a diabetic, they're not likely to give you as tough a time as living with an
No,
alcoholic.
no, they're not. But it is likening it. It's defining disease, if you like,
Hmm.
rather than and it's something that it's inflicted upon you, rather than it's a choice to go down that route. Which is what Hitchens was going back to in his in that video. He was saying it's a choice.
Yeah,
You
I
don't
think
you don't have to do that.
no, I absolutely. I think the more I think about it, the more I kind of settle on this notion that what you can expect from a loved one is an
Yeah,
openness to understanding more about it.
yeah.
You don't know where that's going to take someone. You don't know where that openness will take them. You don't know in which direction it will take them. You don't know how deep that understanding will sink.
Mm,
But I think if someone who really cares about you says, listen, I don't know what you're going through. It massively frustrates me. It annoys me. Sometimes I want to kill you,
yeah,
but I do want to understand this because I
yeah,
feel like if I understand it, that will be easier for me and it will be easier for you.
yeah, yeah.
I don't think that's an unreasonable expectation.
I don't think so. And to put it across, it's incurable. You know, so again, like diabetes, it's a lifelong disease, and you have to commit to maintaining your recovery. So it's much easier when you have that your significant other on side and all that.
Mm.
There's no doubt about that.
Does that mean we won't ever be able to go to Oktoberfest?
Well, you can, mate, but I can't think of anything worse.
No.
To be honest, it I've always been quite grateful that perhaps at the age I am, that sort of thing would probably have gone out of my system anyway, even if I wasn't in recovery. You know, it doesn't hold any allure.
Well, I'm testament to that, aren't I?
You are, you are, because you used to enjoy a beer back in the day, but that doesn't really fill you with a great deal of joy, does it? The thought of going to a beer festival.
I can't think of anything worse, to be honest. Well, I can think of something worse. Something worse would be going to a goat's cheese festival.
They
That
don't
would
have
be
many a goat cheese fest. They don't have many of those around, do they?
no, thank God.
I'd be there. That'd be a cracking one.
Well, if
What
I hear of any advertised, I'll let you know.
Thanks, mate. If you could, then, yeah, just send me a link. I'll
Yeah.
deal with that. Again, putting across to your partner that addiction doesn't disappear just because you've been in recovery for a month or a year or you've done detox, because that is an issue that comes up a lot. People expect us with addiction issues to put a bit of work in. Perhaps you go to rehab for a while, for 3 months, or we go to detox for a week, and then everything's okay. You can go back to your normal position. And I know that's happened to me. A lot of people around me have said, you're all right now, aren't you? You've done that. They expect you to be able to drink normally, and that's a lack of understanding. So,
Mm.
but can we again? Can we expect other people to understand that, or should we just deal with it and think, well, they're not going to understand it. That's it.
I
Laugh it
think
off.
I thought I mean I think that probably is something you can expect someone close to you to understand because
Yeah.
if you are open enough to be understanding the kind of fundamentals of what it is to be an addict in recovery, then that's like recovery 101, isn't it?
It is
So
really, yeah.
if you on the one hand say, yes, I'm willing to learn some more about this condition because I want to understand it and you better, and then you start saying, well, hang on, you've been in recovery for 3 months, surely you can have a little drink now.
Yeah.
You haven't really done any learning, have you?
No, that's right, and again, it comes up quite a lot where they say, "Well, just have one. You'll be all right. I mean,
Well,
just one will be all right now."
yeah, I wonder though, and you will be in a much better place to know this than I would. I wonder though if some of that confusion over how long does abstinence last when you're in recovery is
Okay.
because actually a lot of newly recovering addicts take a while to believe that, don't they?
They do, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I wonder if I don't know, this is pure conjecture. I wonder if sometimes when people go into recovery and there is perhaps relief on the part of their partner, as a couple, they might sometimes, think wistfully about the day when they'll both be able to have a drink together again.
Yeah.
And it's only in the kind of fullness of as your recovery begins to strengthen, there's probably an acceptance and a recognition. No, that day's never going to come.
Yeah, it is, and I think going back to that point, sometimes we don't understand the disease ourselves, and we certainly don't in the early stages. Most
I
people go
think.
in most
I
people go
think.
in
Go on. Sorry.
most people start off on their journey thinking they can learn to be able to drink socially or to drink how they used to do in their teens, and then coming to terms with the fact that this is a lifelong condition which you can't go back and do that. It's only abstinence that will provide the answer.
Oh yeah, and I wonder whether that's one of the areas where we often talk understandably about how it's difficult for someone who hasn't had addiction problems to understand an addict. But I wonder if this is one of the areas where actually it's difficult for you as a recovering addict to understand what it's like not to have had an addiction problem. Because I can tell you, and it's not, I mean, it's not something there's a kind of thought that goes through my head sometimes. I sort of think, oh, it'd be nice to go for a beer with Martin. you know,
Yeah, yeah.
not because I think it will actually happen, but actually there's almost like this sounds a bit strong, but there's a sense of bereavement, a sense of loss,
Yeah, yeah.
a sense of, oh, that thing that used to be so kind of core to our relationship, we'll never have. And so the way that you would process that and think about that would be very different from me,
Yeah,
because,
yeah.
never having had addiction problems, there's probably still a part of me that thinks, oh, that'd be really nice. I'd really like to be able to do that. Whereas you, I'm sure, would think that is, I'd never want to do that again because I know where that would lead me. So I think they're probably, what am I saying? I think I'm saying that somewhere in that dynamic, there probably is a necessity for a recovering addict to understand what it's like for the other person as well. It doesn't all go one way, does it?
Which is, well, I'm really glad that I put these notes together, because that's exactly the sort of input I needed. Because we can get quite blinkered, and we can get quite insular, especially in groups. We think it's almost like us against the world, and so it does, that sort of barrier does need to be softened. It needs to be broken down, and there should be, dialogue and understanding on both parts.
Yeah, because
So,
if you think about something like depression, if
yeah,
you've lived with someone who's been depressed, that's exhausting for the person who's not depressed. But most people wouldn't think of the person who's not been depressed, but just
no,
had to live with someone depressed, right?
yeah,
And so I think one of the things that kind of helps this is a recognition that if you're a part of a couple and your partner is a recovering alcoholic, or when you met your partner they were a drinker, yeah, they might have had too much when you first met them, and then it got worse and worse and
mm,
worse. When you eventually go into recovery and everything changes, you have changed the other person's life too. You've changed your partner's life.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so when your partner says, well, that's all right, I'm still going to stay with you, in a sense, that wasn't what they signed up for. So I suspect that the more recognition the more recognition of that there is from the person in recovery, the easier it becomes for the person who isn't in recovery to be open to understanding and learning. I think when it becomes a kind of conflict,
yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah,
when it's going to
exactly.
become really kind of tough to make any headway.
Yeah, I think you're right. Once you lock horns on that, it's quite a long way back, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's
I
a,
mean, you've ruined my life by going into recovery.
well, I remember the old phrase that, two blokes, they don't really know each other, unless they've got drunk together, or if they've had a fight. All right, so perhaps I'll just pop round and give you a few digs. We'll have a little ruck on the pavement, and that's all right. That'll sort that out.
Yeah, well, no, I think I'll probably just live with the way things are, to be honest.
It's less painful for both of us, probably, isn't it?
I reckon so. Yeah.
But I think that it's interesting the way you've sort of moved this around a little bit, because I think I've got a little quote to sort of sum up, which probably does justice to both their points of view. But I'll read it out, and you tell me what you think. Addiction is a disease. This does not in any way excuse responsibility. Just as with every other disease, diagnosis requires adherence to a treatment plan. Designating addiction as a disease is not a free pass. In fact, it establishes expectation. Recovery, though difficult, is attainable. So I think that perhaps gives a little bit from both sides there, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah, I think it does, because I think probably if you, as you said before, if in recovery you see yourself as the person with the problem, come on, understand me, I'm the one with the problem. I
Yeah,
think you're going to get less understanding from people around you.
yeah,
When you recognize, yeah, I've got this thing that I'm going to have to live with for the rest of my life, but I recognize it is affecting you as people I love too, then I think there's much more chance of positive progress.
good. Well, I think that quote, when I saw it, I thought I'm going to use that at the end, because that sort of rounds it up. So that's where I wanted to leave the discussion, mate. Unless there's anything else you particularly wanted to add at this juncture.
No,
Cool. Shall we then? Shall we go on to our gratitude lists?
why don't we do that?
Have you got anything jotted down? Because
I have.
I printed my notes out, and I did them on Friday, and I'd left that one blank, gratitude list, because
Oh,
I couldn't think of anything at that time, which I
you couldn't
often
think of anything you were grateful for.
I couldn't be bothered to think of
That's
it.
it. Get out.
It
Get
was
out.
it was getting a bit late on Friday night, but often I do leave it blank and fill it in by hand. And so I did. I did. Something came up yesterday, which, so I'm glad I left it blank.
In a sense, I suppose you could have been grateful for the fact that you could allow yourself to leave your gratitude list blank.
Well, yeah, I just think
That's self-compassion, isn't it?
it is, and you've let me off nicely there. But I have in fact filled something in, but I just
Go on
wanted,
then. Tell
well,
us what it
just
is.
well, I'm grateful for old-fashioned sweet shops.
I don't even know of any, but I'm totally on board with you there, but
Yeah,
I don't know where
okay.
they are.
Well, there's one in Rochester, and there are a few around. The reason it came up is just that I was out at lunch yesterday with my cousin and her partner, and they gave me some what's it called? Toffee crumble. That's what it was. Toffee
Toffee
crumble.
crumble.
And they were explaining they'd bought it in an old-fashioned sweet shop where you get it in, the big jars that come off
Yep.
the shelves, and it was absolutely delicious, delicious. And I thought, it's a while since I've been into that one in Rochester. So when the next over, I'm going to go in there and have some of those sweets that remind me of my childhood.
Right, what would you have? So if you could have, so I've taken you in there, you can have 3/4 bags, not three
Three.
quarter bags. Yeah, three. I think three. I always think threes are best with stuff like this. What would you choose? You can have two. You can only have one if you want.
Well, no, I'd certainly go for rhubarb and crumble because not no, rhubarb and
Rhubarb and
custard,
crumble, rhubarb
rhubarb
and
and custard.
custard.
Yeah, not rhubarb and crumble. They should do that. Rhubarb and crumble. No,
Well,
rhubarb and
just if
custard.
you eat a rhubarb and custard and just whilst you're
Yeah.
sucking it, eat a digestive
Ah, no, you're there, aren't you?
rhubarb crumble
It's done.
with custard.
That's the job done. You're done. Aniseed twists.
Oh yeah, nice. Oh, okay, yeah, right.
Um, that's probably about it, really.
Okay, I'm going to
I-
have
I've always
I'm
been more of a chocolate person, so you don't really get those in those old-fashioned sweet shops.
no, don't go eating chocolate buttons in bed again or anything.
Exactly.
So I'm having some sherbet lemons,
Oh yeah, yeah, nice.
American hard gums,
Yeah, not a big fan.
and some cough candy.
All right, okay, yeah, yeah, not bad, not bad, not bad choice.
I'll go straight to the dentist
Yeah,
afterwards.
well, you'd have to go there straight. Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can feel your teeth dissolving as you're finishing the last bag, can't you?
Yeah, or wine gums I might have. My dad was a big fan of American hard gums.
Yeah, yeah. But
Yeah,
it just reminded me that I'm grateful that those sort of sweets are still available because you don't get them in the supermarkets.
quite right. Oh, very good. Well, I'll tell you what I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for my sideways notebook.
Are you?
Yeah,
Excellent. Yeah.
I found that I'm really enjoying writing stuff in it, and the part of the reason that I'm really enjoying it is because it has a singular purpose.
Ah, right.
And
Okay.
I've
Yeah, yeah,
realized that because, as you know, as we discussed before, I love notebooks.
yeah.
Can't have too many notebooks. But the problem I generally have with notebooks is I start in one vein in a notebook and then I find that I've moved somewhere else because that's just the way I think. But with my sideways notebook, it's like it's got a boundary around it. I cannot write anything in here
Yeah.
unless it's relevant to sideways, which is quite refreshing, actually.
It is quite refreshing, and I do exactly the same. Although I did grab it and write something down the other day when I thought, oh no, I should be writing it here.
I
But it's,
couldn't possibly do
no,
that. So, in a sense, you've helped me with my mental health.
thank you. Yeah, well, good. Oh, I'm glad it's a good present. But I quite like the feel. I mean, mine one was a present to me, so I sort of replicated it, giving it a present onto you. But I like the feel of it, don't you? The sort of the
Yeah,
leatherette feel to it, the leather feel on the outside.
yeah,
Very
it's like a
nice.
sort of moleskin.
It is. It's tactile as well as being useful.
It is, and because I decided to write in it in pen, which is something I
Yeah,
would never do in a notebook, that's
yeah.
also sort of shifted a paradigm for me.
Good, good.
So yeah,
It's
great.
you've grown as a person, haven't you?
I've grown as a person. Yeah, I feel as if I'm more equipped to deal with the vagaries of the world now.
Good. Well, I'm going to come on to days of the year now. I haven't actually got it up in front of me on my phone at the moment, but I know that I jotted down a couple of from daysoftheyear.com.
Yep.
Today was National Name Your Car Day. Have you ever done that? Have you ever had a name for your car? I certainly haven't.
Why would you do that?
I don't know. I don't know, mate. I don't know, but a lot of people do, don't they? And
Do
they're
they?
often, yeah, they do, and they're often she's, aren't they? They're often feminine. But
Yeah, I kind of understand they're like boats.
yeah, yeah, you can understand boats. You write it on the side, don't you? And you can see it along the river. But
No,
your car,
I've never named a car. I mean, if I was going to name any inanimate objects, it would be guitars that I'd name probably.
Okay. Do
and
you
I've
have
never named any of those either.
no, right, okay, no, I don't use names, but
So
a lot of
no, I
people
don't.
do.
If honestly, if you do a lot of naming of your car, when I've got a space, you come along and see me. We'll have a chat.
You need to take people through that, do you? Walk them through it and get them away from it.
Not right, is it?
No, it isn't. Another one that's on there, I don't know if you've got them up in front of you, but change a light day. It's and what it means on there when I looked at it, it's change a light bulb day because to change a light, got to
Why would you?
rewire it.
Hang on, wait a minute. Change a light bulb day. Well,
Yeah.
what? You change a light bulb even if the light bulb hasn't gone.
It's in trying to encourage you to use the lower wattage ones that for ecological purposes, basically.
Well, I literally, what is that today? Change a light
Yeah,
bulb day.
it is. Yeah.
Well, I changed one on Friday.
Oh, you're ahead of the curve then, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should have stayed. You should have left it in there till today.
Well, it would have been dark on the landing until today, but I did something that I hadn't done for a long time, which was, when you buy a bulb and you think I can't remember what the wattage was of the one that I'm replacing,
But it's got it
and then
written
you
on it.
find you get one that's too dim or too bright.
Yeah.
So I've got one now for the landing that's too bright. It's like flipping Hammersmith Odeon every time I'm going up to the
You can't
bedroom. Yeah.
expect to see Marillion playing along the end of your corridor, don't you?
That would be disconcerting, wouldn't it? Fish appearing in the
But
doorway.
although he's no longer with Marillion, he was in the days when we used to go and watch him, wasn't
Yeah. I saw Marillion the day after they just got a record deal, actually.
he? Did you?
Yeah.
I've seen him several times over the years. But there's
Yeah,
international.
that surprises me. I wouldn't have thought you'd like Marillion.
I'm not a great fan, but they always turn up at bloody festivals, don't they?
Yeah,
They edge their way into my consciousness by being there, like Budgie. You
like
know
I
what
was
I mean?
just going to say Budgie, like Budgie.
Yeah,
Budgie always
exactly, exactly.
at festivals. Yeah.
Another International Day of Non-Violence. So I can't come around and give you a slap today to get to know you.
Right. So, if there's an International Day of Non-Violence, that suggests that on all the other days it's okay to be violent. Is that right?
I didn't look into that because there is each one of these days you can go and look at what's behind them, and I didn't bother with that one. And that's but National Fried Scallops Day or scallops. What do you say, scallops or scallops?
That's a good one, actually. That's scone and scone, isn't it?
It is, yeah,
I think I say them interchangeably.
yeah,
I don't often have cause to say scallops, but I do say scone scone sometimes.
yeah.
And I think I probably say whatever comes, whichever one comes out of my mouth. Although I do remember once at work, I colluded with a colleague of mine to convince some other member of staff that the scone scone thing was dependent on something. I can't even remember what it was now. I don't know what it was, but that sort of why you pronounce scone or scone. I don't even know what the background to that is anyway.
No, I don't.
I know
No.
there's the whole cream and jam thing, Devon and Cornwall jam and cream and jam, but I
Would it
can
be
never remember which way round that is either.
no? Which or what which you prefer to put on first? Yeah, it is. But I always used to. We've always when we was at home, we always used to call them scallops. We used to call them scallops because because it sounds a bit like scallop, which was bollocks backwards, and so, so we always used to like that phrase.
I haven't had scallops. I think probably I'd say scallops more often. I haven't had them for ages, but they're nice.
Yeah, they have, and they're quite expensive to get. So it's not something that I indulge in as often as I would like,
No,
probably.
it's cheaper to buy scones or scones.
It is, yeah. But there is this week is also because there's not only days of the year, there's weeks also, and one of them which you'll probably like is Walk Your Dog Week. Now, again, going back, does that mean that people don't walk their dogs? And when you look at that the history behind that, yes, indeed, people will often not walk their dogs.
How can you
Yeah,
not walk your dog?
I
You
don't
should. How
know.
you've no right having a dog if you're not walking
Absolutely
your
right.
dog.
But yeah, but this is trying to encourage people to get into the system of walking your dog every day.
I mean, I even don't understand people who, and I kind of get it, I suppose, but I, people who don't go out because it's raining with their dog. Oh, I won't go. I didn't go out yesterday morning. It was raining. What?
Yeah,
That's an outrage.
yeah,
I'm
it is.
probably alienating 50% of our listeners here, but
No, but I can see the anger in your face, and I like that.
no, it makes me cross.
And just the last one, I want to finish on where it's October is Mental Health Month. So we've got a bit, and that falls into the categories we like to talk about anyway, doesn't it?
Well, I'm doing 2 talks this month for
You are
different
excellent.
organisations. I'm doing one on how to stay connected when working remotely, something that wouldn't worry you because you don't work remotely,
Exactly.
and then another one on anxiety. So yeah, I'm quite busy because it's Mental Health Month.
Yeah, yeah. Good, good.
Uh,
That's me. That's me, mate. That's my notes done.
well, that's enough, isn't it? Really, we've been
More than.
wittering on.
Well, in fact, I did leave some out. There's some other bits I was going to put in there.
I'm glad you left them out because, quite frankly, I was getting bored with hearing you going on about it.
I was bored. I'm getting bored looking at you. To be honest, I'm going to come around and give you a slap, even though it's non-violence day. I'm going to circumvent that.
Well, I won't be in because I'll be taking my dog out because it's Walk Your Dog Week.
Good answer. I like it.
Right. All right then.
Cheers, mate.
Laters.
Laters. Bye.
Bye. Sideways was created by Graham Landy and Martin Pankhurst. If you want to read more about our work or sort through the extensive archive of past episodes, just visit grahamlandywellbeing.co.uk/sideways-podcast. You can follow us on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram at Sideways Podcast, and you can email us if you have a question or if there's something you'd like us to cover. But most of all, we want to tell you how grateful we are that you come and listen, and we ask that if you've enjoyed what you've heard, that you spread the word. And we'll see you next week.